We're not live yet.
One person's watching. Oh,
we're not live yet. That's great.
No, it says we're live. I just want to make sure the audio is working.
We're not live yet.
All right, it's working.
Let's get it.
It will come through my earphone. All right, so how about this one? What if we had the open, and can we put it out there? And the open was 3 workouts. The first workout was 3-minute AMRAP of deadlifts at 225. Hey. Second workout was a 7-minute AMRAP of burpees. And the third one was a 20-minute AMRAP of 50-foot shuttle runs. Would you think that was a good test or not?
I want to do it.
Let's see.
Oh, yeah?
I see what you're
You see what I'm doing?
Yeah, because like I'm just getting so love. Dang. Okay.
Because just you're covering all of the 3 domains, like the short time frame, the mid one, and then the longer one. You're picking movements that absolutely everybody can do.
Right. You're covering time domains. I get it.
You're covering time domains.
I think I'd rather the run be. I told George about this yesterday, where I would rather the shuttle run be a sprint.
Like forcing people to run.
Like you have to run fast.
All right,
like,
this is the hypothetical open though.
Like a yeah okay.
So would it be a good test? Because this is what people think fitness is now, right? Like people think fitness is just pure work capacity.
Yeah, it doesn't encompass everything that we.
It wouldn't be a good test for CrossFit.
Yeah.
No.
Mm-mm.
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm. That's 3 single.
Or for fitness.
For how CrossFit defines fitness,
right.
or how they shape their idea of fitness and how they've come about that and the things that they use to construct that.
But we all believe that their idea of fitness is correct, right?
Right. What I'm saying is there's pieces missing to just those three tests that you placed, hypothetical open tests. I think that they do cover different areas, but they're missing other elements of
yeah, obviously that's why I picked those.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right.
So we're missing certain things. I don't think any test is ever going to be fully complete.
Right. There's a good point.
Just if you take a class, you're not going to be tested on every single thing you learned in that class in the semester. You're not going to. It just would take too long. So obviously they're going to pick and choose, but you have to be prepared for that test. Meaning whatever comes at you, you have to be ready and able to do it and hopefully measure up to the rest of the field as best of your ability. So you're preparing for anything that can come out. Which is
kind of like if you did that test, it kind of seems like you'd get results that you wouldn't have the fittest person in the world at the CrossFit Games be the one that is in the top 100 in that test.
No, there's nothing skilled enough, I think, in that particular hypothetical test.
Because it doesn't cover all the 10 components of fitness, right?
Yeah, that's
like you just covered a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, because it seems like I'm trying to get at what the argument is for this open being good or bad. And how do you compare it to other opens? So I gave, let's go to the extreme. Like, let's take skills out of it completely.
Yeah.
2 minutes or 3 minutes of deadlifts, max reps.
Yeah.
7 minutes of burpees, 20 minutes of shuttle runs.
Yeah.
That'd be terrible.
What are you going to get? Like, I'd be like, oh, that was so hard. I threw up in the bushes after all 3 of the workouts. That was the hardest open ever. Like, yeah, I get that. Like, that would be really hard.
Right.
But would it be a good test? Because there's a difference between, just making a hard workout and making a specific test for the CrossFit Games, because I think that that's what the open is. Like, the opens should be the test to move on to the next stage, obviously. You'd probably get the fittest people in the world in the CrossFit Games moving on to the quarterfinals, so you could make the argument, oh, well, everybody moved on to the quarterfinals, so it did its purpose.
Yeah, I think there's 2 arguments.
Do you want to talk about that one at all? right now, or do you want to save that for a different part of the conversation?
No, I mean, I'm just.
Well, I think when it comes to viewing the open, there's two arguments going on as well. There's one that people like, we're not just trying, but a big part of it is we're getting to the next phase. We're taking the top 10% of this group and pushing them forward to the next group. Okay, but what about the rest of what about the other 90%, especially when you promote the event as a community-based event that everybody should do? The open is for all. So then how should we construct that test with the 90% in mind, not just the 10% in mind as well? You know?
So this would be my argument is you can't program it for the 10% or the 90%. You have to program it for the top people.
All right, let me give you a Young Life analogy real quick. There's this thing that we do at summer camp called Club. It's at night. It's an hour long. Part of that event that goes on is you sing 4 songs, right? Typically, and they're like fun songs, like Taylor Swift and Sweet Home Alabama or whatever. Over my time in Young Life, people have been arguing that songs are not inclusive enough. That there's 500 kids in the room and lots of those kids in the rooms will not sing Taylor Swift. And this is the argument. This is the actual truth, though. You pick songs for the freshman girls at the front of the room who are going to scream and sing as loud as you possibly can, and that's who you choose these songs for. The very loudest, most participatory people in the event. And this reminds me just of that. Like, I can't.
That's the same argument that people make when they say you have to program for everybody.
Yeah, it's the exact same, and it's like, and I've been screaming this from the mountaintop recently. I'm like, listen, like, and I've tried to meet them halfway, where they're like, hey, there's kids here that don't sing Taylor Swift. How dare you sing Taylor Swift? I'm like, you know what all of the kids in this room did? They watched Saturday morning cartoons. I bet you every one of those kids watched High School Musical. I don't care where they're from. They can be from the gutter, like the trenches, the worst of the worst, the most horrific spaces. They're watching Saturday morning cartoons, and they're watching High School Musical, and there's just, don't get it twisted. And I know you, and it's like, you don't know because you haven't spent any time with these people. And maybe there's something to that too, where for the test, where it's like, are you around really, really, really fit people that these tests are propelling through? I don't know.
So I was thinking about that, or in reference to that, I kind of looked at our own Krypton leaderboard, and as I do after we kind of let the dust settle and see who qualified down for the next round. We had 18 males on the male side qualify for quarterfinals, and if you think about 10%, right, go on. Well, we had 80 sign up, so we had over 20% of people signed up make it to the next round. So a greater percentage within our gym than worldwide go on. So to me, that shows, one, that the programming works well for the test that comes out if you have a greater representation of your members moving to the next round.
True.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
So you're in touch with what needs to be done, but also because you've been competing for so long, so you kind of know.
Or just, I told, I'll tell this after, but I told a group at 12 that I coached last week that about the open and why they should sign up, because I think only 2 of them out of the 12 of them signed up.
At that noon group?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
3. All right, sorry, I'll tell you in a minute, but yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. No, I think that's interesting, because then there's gyms out there who had, like, even within our region area, 15 total people sign up, and it's like, what is this, the discrepancy? Where's the disconnect between those gym owners and their idea of CrossFit, the methodology, and the open?
Mm. That's kind of what I wanted to talk about.
Oh, I have something. What happens if your gym is populated with very novice level members?
They just scale the workouts. What do you mean? But what do you mean by that?
You'd probably program for the best.
What if you have a gym? Yeah. Okay.
You'd probably program for whoever was the least novice of them.
Right, so
And
you
that
are
person.
so it stands true there. That's a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
You program for the best. You have the best person in your gym in mind when you program your class workouts for the week, and that's going to elevate everyone to their level. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's like you want to. It's like.
But even what if that
you
person
can be the
can't
biggest
do-
fish in that pond, right? And then you can always bring in a bigger fish, or.
And that's a little bit about, one of my homies that just joined this gym was like, yeah, I was kind of like the biggest fish at my other pond. And like, I'm like, bottom of the list here.
So you're getting at, like, what if that person can't do a certain set of skills?
It's something like,
skills, so then how, do you never program those?
Right, like, and this is the nuanced part of the conversation where it's like, and that's why you can't take those people into account when you think of this as a good test, when you can't use them as a metric for the open being a good test. I don't think. In the example that you gave,
mm-hmm.
because I'm in agreement with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do when nobody in your gym can do muscle ups? Do you program them?
I think you have to still they have to still make it in there.
So is this part of the conversation of like, hey, if you're not programming if you're not challenging the members of your gym to the to the highest standard, are you doing yourself and your members a disservice and the community a disservice? Or is this what's maybe some stuff you could give away, Ben?
No, so I think the highest standard you're talking about would be the open for that gym.
But
how come?
Well, because that's what I think you should, like, for example, the highest standard here would be what we're training for, which is the CrossFit Games. So we're training kind of all year for the CrossFit Games. So we'll do things that maybe are a little bit different than a gym who might just be their season, let's say, and the athletes compete. They end at the open. There's not 20% of the people moving on to the quarterfinals. Mm-hmm. Like, I programmed rope climbs yesterday because I know that they're coming in the quarterfinals, and I wanted everybody to at least touch up on rope climbs. So we might do them again, one more time before the quarterfinals come up, because a handful of people are doing them, and I wanted everybody to get in touch with doing rope climbs again.
Right.
Things like that. Like, but there's no need to really program rope climbs all the time if you don't have anybody that can do them. Right. But if you have one person that can do them, you should program rope climbs.
Yeah.
Or if you have one person that wants to get them or is trying to get them, you should program them.
I think sometimes you don't even know what you want as an athlete starting out in CrossFit, or if you're in a gym and you're working through the programming, you might not know that you can get a muscle up, or that you're eventually going to get rope climbs. Because that was me. Like, I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. If I had stayed at a gym that never programmed those things, I don't know what my fitness would look like now. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Because I couldn't go all the way up the rope. I couldn't do so many things for so long, and I never even had a inkling of thinking I wanted to do a muscle ups. I'm not here for that. I'm here to just kind of like shed some fat, look good, be a little fit.
Right.
Getting on top of these rings, that's just not something that I'm even putting in my radar. So like, it didn't disappoint me if I never attempted it or never did it. Like, I just didn't know that was something I would ever even be capable of.
Right.
And you'd say as you've gone on, it would probably, that idea's changed.
Yeah, because now I'm like, maybe what else can I do? Like, what else can I do that I never would have thought about? Mm-hmm. Like we program legless rope climbs fairly often. You know what I mean? Or they're regularly programmed. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's some gyms where I think that would never in a year be on the programming. I love legless rope.
The main site.
I love legless rope climbs. I actually really like that movement. A pegboard. Like, we don't program those in class because we have 3 of them and it's just not. Yeah. But you can scale people up to that if they have that ability within your class, or you can do that on your own.
I told people to do it a couple weeks ago.
I love those too. And these are all things where I never would have.
That's sweet.
I don't think it's ever popped up on the main site. Maybe it has once, but I don't remember. It's like, all I have to pull from when I program is what CrossFit is told, what CrossFit's shown as their idea of fitness, because it's just an idea, right? It's their best guess at what they think fitness is.
Yeah.
And then all the tests that we've done over the course of the Open, regionals, and games. Just the years of that.
Right.
And then I put together, when I program for the gym, the best training program that I can put together. But I'm not doing it just randomly, like people might think CrossFit's random. It's not that. I'm putting it together with a goal in mind of the open test.
Right.
That's what I think about each week because I do week by week. I program for the affiliate, and I've hit all of the skills that we have. Maybe not all the skills, but I hit the majority of the skills each week, so that everybody that comes into the gym on a consistent basis is touching the skills that they're going to see in the open. So that when the open rolls around, they have no excuse as to why they can't do them, because we practice them all the time. Other than they just don't want to do them relative to the other person next to them or something.
Right.
But we're going to touch them and we're going to work on them, and I program for the open in a sense, because that's what I think fitness is. That's where I think fitness is tested. Outside of that, where's fitness tested other than the benchmark workouts? So you have the benchmark workouts, right? You have CrossFit.com.
Which most people don't even know.
A lot of people don't know what they are, sure. Like, I recommend printing out the benchmark workouts and putting them up somewhere and trying to do them all. I think that was the way I started CrossFit. I saw the benchmarks, had a page of benchmark workouts, just went through them each day, did them. And when I was done, I trained for a little bit, and then I'd go back and I'd redo all of them. It would take me a few weeks to do them, maybe more. But you'd get through all of them, and then you get a good test, and then you retest, and you go to train in between. So it's like that was the way that I trained with what CrossFit put out, because this is what they define fitness as. Let me just test and retest, right? And then CrossFit.com seems to be like the mindset or the consciousness of this idea of fitness. So like the CrossFit.com is them experimenting with what they believe fitness to be, and if I take all the people in the world that had to do CrossFit.com, they probably get fitter consistently over the course of time since CrossFit.com has been posting workouts. That's the idea. Like, I'm just speaking in the realm of ideas.
For sure. I also think that's true. I think if somebody was doing what you just described.
Sure. So then my question would be, can
inevitable.
you do something better? So that's a follow-up question to, yes, you've done CrossFit.com for 10 years. You got fit from point A, you started here and you finished at point B. Now you're this much fitter. Could I have done better? And how could I have done better? Would be like the next logical scientific question that you'd ask, because that's what science is. You test and you retest, and you're open to new hypotheses and things that you might be wrong, right?
Yes.
So you have to integrate those things into your sense-making process somehow.
Yeah.
So is there a way that you could do better? And that's what I've been fascinated with over the course of 10 years, and that's what I'm playing around with when I train more than once a day, and when I do multiple sessions back to back, or when I change up all the time domains and modalities and things like that. And that's what people at the CrossFit Games at the highest level are testing. And I think that maybe as long as the test stays true to CrossFit, which I think it has so far, like the CrossFit Games is the best test of fitness that the world's seen. I think that produces the fittest athletes by CrossFit's standard of definition. And I think the standard or the definition is the best definition that we have so far. But what can make it better? Because it says what's fitness? It's work capacity across broad times, different time domains, broad time and modal domains, meaning just changing it up, varying it up.
Right.
It's a very broad definition. It's not a specific scientific definition, but like what else we got? We don't have anything specific. So
the specific part for the definition comes in from the person
tests.
Programming the test.
It comes from the test, exactly. So it comes from the open, right? So it's what skills do I test every year in the open? Let's say there's 10 tests that you see.
Your definition comes through
testing.
The test, which is the open, quarterfinals, semifinals, and then the games. That is your textbook or that is your body of definition.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So imagine if we did this hypothetical test of the open with the 2 minutes of deadlifts, 7 minutes of burpees, and 15 and 20 minutes of shuttle runs. It's like, would that be I think short term it wouldn't be a good test because it doesn't cover the 10
I see what you did
components
here.
of fitness.
I see what you did here.
But then long term you could make the argument that long term it was good to sprinkle that data point in there because it might be helpful in pointing us into one direction or the other with our data over the course of 100 years or 20 years or 10 years or however long you're going to be testing fitness, because it seems like you can do this all day. Like you can make these arguments left and right and up and down, and all we have is what we have. All we know is what we have up to this point.
Correct.
So that's what I go with.
There's the natural optimist in you too, where like this thing that has brought and contributed so much to your life that does not lead you to pessimism easily is definitely at play here, psychologically speaking.
I've gotten much more pessimistic as I've gotten older.
But the last couple of years, it's becoming
it's cynical, not pessimism. Yeah.
There you go, cynical. But also, like, I feel like some of the conversations need to be had. Like, you need to have these type of sense-making conversations every once in a while. Like, sometimes you get off track, you know. Sometimes you get off
Which
course.
we saw.
Yeah.
I listened to and read so many things since last week, since the open ended, of different people giving their opinion.
Yep. Me too.
Their critique and you know, at some point it just got really frustrating because it's just reading comments too from just random people about why this was bad or, you know, this or that or the other thing, and I was just like, we have such a good mentality here, and I see that it's not everywhere. Right, when people finished that first workout and didn't get a muscle up, they weren't mad about the workout being programmed. They weren't mad that muscle ups were in the first workout. Right. They were like, dang, I wish I could do those, and that would be fun.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna work hard at doing those so I can do those next time. Yeah. Like, we didn't have members that complained about when the snatch weight came up, 125, 185 on the third bar is a big jump for a lot of people to get those weights in. So we didn't have people in here again complaining about the weight in this workout is too heavy and I only got a 6-minute workout. They were like, no, I need to get better at snatching. Like, that is everybody's first response in here. We didn't have the,
you know what,
this went too far.
Right.
And
just the double under. I kept having people that kept telling me that the dubs got them. I was like, there's been multiple workouts with 400 or 500 double unders in them, and then part of me is like,
you're doing 150.
What have you been doing? What have you been doing during these 500 dub workouts? Because
singles.
Yeah.
At this point, if you're doing here's your wake up call. If you've been scaling singles, probably a problem. Mm-hmm. If this set of 50s, two sets of 50 show up in it steals the workout from you.
Yeah.
That's a silly thing to let steal the workout from you. I had a buddy one time that was so bad at double unders, when he got out of bed in the morning, he went to his garage and did 50 immediately.
Termite kills.
But he could only do like 1 or 2 at a time. And at the end of 30 days, he could do 50 in a row. And he's never looked back since.
I always tell people that are working on the similar idea, walk in the gym, do 25 double unders. Walk out of the gym, you gotta do 25 double unders.
There you go.
You can do that easy, up into 50.
Yeah.
And then when you can do 50 in and out the gym, you're gonna have no problem doing double unders.
Yeah,
and then switch up which rope you use.
Yeah. And
then do them with a different rope.
Yeah.
Because if you can do them with a thinner rope or a heavier rope, then you can do double unders.
Were you a fan of? Let's.
That doesn't take that much time and effort either. That's 3 minutes before and after the gym.
Right.
It's just
high end.
It's hard to put in the effort.
Were you a fan of those things in your own personal career, or do you not like those types of things? Like when you were bad at whatever you were bad at, and you just had to kind of like, this sucks. Why am I in the garage doing double unders, right? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
No, I would do an excessive amount of whatever.
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah. Yeah. I love the challenge of like finding something that I wasn't good at and then trying to do it.
Which, you know what nobody's talking about? That part of what we do. Enjoying having a workout expose you. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of the critiques are like, people are exposing these workouts, and it's like, hey, there's a lot of, about this space that had workouts expose you.
That's what CrossFit did. Like, that was like what the .com workouts did every time.
Yeah.
That was the point. That's why they put in a certain number of volume of reps, right? Because it always exceeded everybody's capacity. That's what Glassman used to say, is like the workout of the day should exceed the capacities of even the fittest people on the planet. It wasn't just your average everyday person. It was like the workout of the day should exceed the fittest people on the planet. That doesn't mean they can fly through the workout, never stop, never take a break, don't miss a rep, and then they finish and they're okay.
Yeah.
Like it's supposed to hurt. It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to challenge in some way.
Yeah, I don't know if it's people are so used to scaling, to getting a workout, give them just kind of like that, I'll say that workout by, but you know what I mean, that cardiovascular.
Because this is what they
Sense of
believe
fitness.
their definition of fitness
Right,
is,
so that's
right?
what everyone wants. Like, for example, yesterday's workout, we did RJ, so most people weren't finishing that workout in 40 minutes. I started early because I wanted to do the whole workout. But then the classes I coach, well, how should I scale these push-ups? Like, I shouldn't do 50 at a time. I go, why not? You can do push-ups. Well, that's just going to take too long. It's like, that's the workout then. You'll cap.
That's a workout then.
It's a push-up workout for you. It's push-up
you see
workout
the name
for
on
me.
the board? It means that's the workout.
You'll cap where you cap, but they were concerned with, I want to run more. I want to do, you know what I mean? They wanted to get their heart rate up more, and they knew that their push-ups were just going to be a long grind. And it's like, well, I want to get better at push-ups. Do larger sets of push-ups or spend more time doing good push-ups there. So I didn't let anybody cut the number of push-ups down. You just got 3 rounds in instead of 5 rounds with 25 push-ups
That's
instead.
why nutrition's at the bottom, at the base of the pyramid. You can avoid that. If you know how to eat, you're gonna avoid that trap. This workout's gonna give me the body I want. Like, you're just gonna avoid it. You're just not gonna get tricked by it anymore. And nobody's, it's like, well, I need to run some because I need to burn a little more calories, and if I don't burn some more calories,
I don't even think it was that. I think it was just the feeling they like running and they wanted to, they wanted to get in as much of the running as possible.
I'm gonna show off my running.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could definitely be it too. I'm just always to the look good naked thing, always being the door that everybody needs to kick down and like realize, hey, this whole thing, the whole pyramid right there, it's gonna accomplish it. And if you take it really serious, it's really gonna really set you up in the place that you want to be. And you also get to know that you're actually never going to get there either. Like, there's this weird dynamic of like almost but not yet type of like, I'm gonna be I'm great, but I could get better. I'm I'm super strong, but I can get stronger, whatever it is. So I think that one traps people too. I got to say nuance this podcast.
It only took 10 minutes.
Yes.
I was gonna mark it, but JB said nuance at this point, just for Jordy.
It just
only took 10 minutes today.
I think a lot of the conversation going on right now too doesn't get to have that, and it doesn't have fun thought experiments for people. And maybe that's what we get to do for people. And mainly you, like that was brilliant on your part, because that's a good test.
Yeah, I'd like to go back and talk about that. I mean,
it's a really good test.
What do you guys? Okay.
It's a very good test because there's a next round. There's a next part. That's not the whole thing. That's one of the parts of a whole. And
so then, should the parts of the whole be representative of the whole entire thing, like a fractal, inside, like the piece inside the same piece, right?
Yes. Do I think that piece would be a good test? I don't see why it wouldn't be. But also, this is just, theorizing too, where it's like, could you give an example of like the quarterfinals round, or is that even necessary? Like, because I feel like that's what you're doing right now, where it's like you just expanded my mind to like, oh yeah, that would be, I immediately thought, I want to do that. I would really like doing that, and then I would love seeing what the next part of
there'd have to be
the test
that's
is.
The problem is there would have to be a next part. So let's go on the other side. Let's go the complete other direction.
All right.
3-minute AMRAP of muscle ups.
Yep.
7-minute AMRAP of power cleans at 135.
Okay.
15-minute AMRAP of double unders.
15 minutes of double unders.
So I mean, maybe not cleans. Maybe squat snatches. Something skillful. Squat snatches at what weight? 225. Something heavy. 7 minutes. Squat snatches 225. 15-minute AMRAPs of what? Something high skill. Triple unders. Something stupid. So you have 3 skills.
Right.
These are insane.
But give it to the CrossFit Games athletes, and they feel like they finished the 15-minute AMRAPs of shuttles. Like, they're going to be smoked. They're going to be tired. It's going to be really hard for them. It's not going to be hard for your everyday person that this, in the same way that the 3-minute AMRAP of deadlifts, 7 minutes of burpees, 20 minutes of shuttle runs is. But that's because they have the ability to do those skills and then push themselves to another realm, like in that cardiovascular muscle endurance type portion of cardiovascular, respiratory endurance, and stamina departments of the 10 general physical skills. So which test is better? You know, like those seem to be two extremes, right?
Yeah.
One, all skills, high skill, complicated, difficult, only the top percent can do it.
Right.
And then the other one's everyone can do it, and everyone can be really competitive in it.
Right.
Like
There's going to be a lot of the people that do well on the super high skilled one. There's going to be a lot of those people that do just as well on the other one. And that's
Correct.
the point.
But and that's what I'm trying.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. Isn't that the point? Like you want to find the athlete that can do the 1% skills at a really high level, and also do the 99% skill test at a high level.
Yeah.
So you want to try to find the person that smacks in the middle there, or like leans towards one way or the other.
Yeah.
But the problem becomes when you test it. If I test the very low skill test, everyone's going to have a high number of reps, and they're all going to be right around the same time domain or the same rep domain, like the burpee pull-up workout. Everybody was within 30 or 40 reps. Almost everybody that that had any level of fitness.
Yeah.
Right.
But then if I go to the other side, you're only going to be competing against 1% of the field. You're not going to be competing against 99% of the field.
Yeah.
So large differences in skill level at that high level is only going to change a couple spot placements, ranking, scoring wise. So this is why as people get fitter over the years, it's harder to have something like a winner max thruster in the event, because it's going to skew it's going to skew your points.
So that's something that I really, really thought about a lot, because I think when I think about the tests, especially the strength tests that have popped up in the open, do I not like them because I'm not strong? Or do I not like them because of what they do to the leaderboard? And is that valid? Is that a valid critique? Is what I'm asking myself. Because no, I don't do well on 1 reps. I'm not a super strong athlete. I'm not super powerful. My squat strength isn't there, but it's also, when that came up, I was like, well, it is what it is, because I haven't worked on it. And so I can't get mad at the test either, for the same reason that if you haven't been working on double unders, you know double unders, you can't be mad that you have to do double unders. Can't be mad where I end up with
that was
my
always
strength.
toast bar for me.
But the argument that I have against it is in the leaderboard, when there's 3 to 5 scores, the only time where something holds its own weight in one category, save for the 7 minutes of burpees that one time, is the lift. So that one test of strength gets a whole score to itself. Then you have 9 other areas of fitness on that list. No other area gets its own score. Gymnastics hasn't really gotten its own score in the open anyway. Like there's been 30 muscle ups at the games. There's tons of different tests that get a separate score, long cardiovascular tests of just running or just swimming tests, or so that's different. But in the open, it's always the strength gets a separate score. And it does it, like, look at the leaderboard and the numbers and the separation, or like how many people are at the same weight, where 3 pounds is like 10,000 places. I can't be better enough in any other category to offset that. And in fact, on my own leaderboard, in the old lady leaderboard, 40 to 44-year-old women.
Oh, I thought you had that.
What leaderboard?
I thought you were just like, so I just made one at my house.
No, in my age group, because that's the one I pay attention to most. I'm trying not to compete against the 22-year-olds out there. But on that, I'll have beaten so many women around me in 3 out of 4 tests, and they're higher than me on the leaderboard for that one
for the lift,
massive jump over me, and I beat them on all other 3 areas. Are they fitter than me?
Right. That's the question.
So that is my argument against the open, and how valid is it to look at yourself on this leaderboard with these tests and say, I'm fitter this year, I'm not fitter this year, or these were good tests or they weren't.
Yeah, I think that's why they're not making the claim that the fittest on earth out of the open.
And I think the point that you're making right now supports the proposition Ben just made about those 3 workouts, which is, no, that's a good test. What I hear you saying is, if those people are higher than you on the in the leaderboard right now, in the open, they're fitter than you.
According to
According to the leaderboard, according to the test. However, what would you need to do? What would need to be done for you to, or for the reality of what you believe to be true, to have a concrete example that is true?
that they're fitter than me?
That you're fitter than them.
I don't know.
More data point.
Yeah.
More data
Which
points.
is what?
More tests. More workouts.
Quarterfinals.
Is the
Which
quarterfinals.
is why I'm signing up for quarterfinals.
Which is why you would sign up for the quarterfinals this year, is because the test at hand so far did this thing to your status on the leaderboard, your positioning on the leaderboard, which is okay currently if you're willing to add more data points via the quarterfinals, like you're saying, which is like you could be mad at those first 3 tests, you could be, whatever. But if you did what needed to be done, yeah, maybe it hurt your ego a little bit. The lift hurts your ego a little bit. We can take Josh as an example of this. I really looked at his scores. He's really fit right now.
Yeah.
Like real fit. The thruster is and he didn't even have a bad thruster. But it was like 30,000th.
Yeah.
Or something at that point. It's like, that denotes like a gigantic discrepancy in between almost top 1,000 in the world at the first 2 workouts, and then 30,000th on the thruster.
So when we're saying someone's really fit, I have to come back to the definition. You're saying that if you gave that person 100 tests versus 3, they would continue to get better the more tests that you gave to them.
Yeah, I think that's
CrossFit's definition of fitness. Yes.
I think
how we interpret it. Absolutely.
I think that's everyone's, like, it plays in the back of everyone's mind of like.
All right. Well, then I'll just bring it out into the front.
Yeah. But I'm also sometimes I'm also like, is that actually true? Like, does this play? Is this just my mind that thinks this? Where I'm like, man, if I only had 5 more tests, they really know how good I was.
Right. Well, that's the other argument that I came across often in reading comments, and people, we got to go back to more scores.
Yeah.
And it's like,
which is actually but it's the proper critique. It's the actual only thing you can justifiably say that would actually benefit you. Yeah. If you're thinking straight, it would be, I need more data points to present to you the truth. Or it's like, I just need a little more time or whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, however, now you're now you're just getting punched in the face by the clock. It's like the other day, that stupid AMRAP. It's what an AMRAP does to you. It's like, man, I would be fitter if I had more time in this workout. It's like, you don't get it. Like, I don't know why you don't understand this, but you don't. And what can you do? I mean, what can we do? This is a place where we could say, hey, how do we help? Or we could just make fun of people. And we don't want to make fun of people. We want to help people in the classes. I mean, I don't coach. I'd show up and I'd talk for...
You were helping someone the other day.
30 minutes. I did. When I have had a good day.
Steven, right?
Yeah. It was very... And this was the weirdest thing, is I haven't coached in a while. Comes back in a second. I was like...
You're just sharing what you thought about.
Yeah.
That's why I think as a coach it's so important to do all the movements, to work out, to do CrossFit. You have to.
Right.
You have to. I think you just have to.
There's and it came to me the other day, like, why you cue jumping and landing for Olympic lifting is like, what it's like, hey, like, jump and then like really try and like smack your feet on the floor. Well, that's gonna prevent potentially all of your members from catching a snatch or a clean in the wrong position, because you can't when you jump properly. If you jump and land properly, you don't do that. It just is the nature of jumping and smacking your foot to the ground.
Jumping includes, 6 of the skills.
It is
10 skills, right?
Right, but it's like
maybe more. Balance, agility, accuracy,
right.
Coordination.
It's like just watching. It's like, hey, you're not actually jumping right now, and you're cleaning. you need to jump. So if you jump, you're gonna catch that right.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't jump, that's gonna just knock you over. I was like, hey, the second you put some more weight on this bar, it's gonna knock you over, legitimately. You don't want to fall over. Because probably is. But that was really fun, and that's what's special about this place is you get to help people. And I think the Open does that. I think the Open is this awesome chance to help people in the space, but like, yeah, maybe we are just like a little disenchanted or something with like what it's supposed to do, or what HQ is supposed to do, or what our $20 is supposed to go towards, or
like I don't want to be the person that's blindly doing this thing and thinking something that I shouldn't be thinking, right? So when people people put up these other arguments, it's like I'm gonna listen to these arguments because I don't know if I'm wrong.
Right. And that nuance that is presented in those arguments is good. Like, hey, what's my $20 go to? You should care.
Sure.
You know, like.
Should you?
Yeah, I mean, like if you're tithing to a church and you're giving them 10% of, what you bring in, whatever. You should care. Like you should care at least. Why shouldn't you care? Like, is it your job to blindly give to the JB's church, and not say, hey, look, this isn't happening right now. Like, I'm giving you a bunch of money. Like, our building still kind of sucks. Like, I know that like some money's coming into the pot. Like, can you provide me an answer with why nothing is happening? And it's like, because there might be a reason. Like and it's actually like, hey, you think there is more money coming in than there is, and we're doing our best with what is coming in. And it's like, do you let members of a church like audit the church? Well, you should probably,
Yeah, I mean, you want to be transparent, right?
Be as transparent as possible. And like.
So
like,
we could ask,
it's your critique,
like for more transparency.
Yeah, maybe some more.
As I'm trying to think, what you do.
Yeah, but like, I don't think many people are like thinking that or like upset with HQ. It's only like some very, I don't know. It is that top percentage that cares right now. I guess
nobody ever cared before. Why did all of a sudden we care?
I don't know.
I'm curious. It's a genuine question. I don't know.
I did care. I think people did care before, but I think. I used to, back 2018 and earlier when there were regionals.
It was $10. It used to be $10 to sign up, by the way.
Oh, I don't think I did it when it was $10. How long ago
Wow.
was that? How long ago was it?
I've only paid 20 my whole time. And the first open I did was 2014.
I thought it was $10.
The first open I did was 2014, so maybe
when it started. I don't know.
Okay. But I think even in like
barrier to entry.
Regional days, you're like, well, CrossFit has to run all of these events to get these people to the games, and then they gotta pay for the games.
Right.
So I guess I didn't give a second thought to my $20 because I thought there's a lot of money that goes in there. I know that it's hard to make money at those things, regional level especially, and you're putting on how many of these to get the athletes to the games. But then they dissolved that and they put that in the hands of other people.
Yeah.
And then they added another online element. So there's no overhead on their part for this, to the quarterfinals, and they still charge the same for the open, more for quarterfinals, and then sent people to an event that they didn't put money into themselves. So that is why I think people now are so cautious of, well, where is the money going now?
Right.
And they see there's 100 different sponsors on CrossFit.com's page.
Yeah.
Right?
And
what are you guys doing?
Right. What are you doing?
Where is that?
Right.
Like, I know the games is
a
wildly expensive thing to put on. I understand that, but you're charging people at every step of the way, and then you're charging your spectators at the games upwards of, up to $500 for a ticket.
And
potentially,
there's a funny thing about like the whole like festival idea. Like, there's been like a successful festival encompassing all of these gatherings of people in that sort of way. I think Woodstock, like the first Woodstock, was the only successful festival, actually. And then everyone after that tried to repeat this, like, hey, let's get a large group of people together. We'll charge ticket price. We'll charge for this event. We'll put on this phenomenal event, and this event will make money. That'll be good. We'll be able to pay the people that plan it, the people that work it, all of the above, right? And the first one worked, and then they tried to do it again. Like, and I know Woodstock, like specifically, they tried to do it again, failed miserably. Tried to do it again, failed miserably. You know, you have the Firefest example. You try to put this whole thing together, and it's like it's really hard to put these things together, and it's really hard for those things, even if they get successfully put together, for them to make money. And I insert the CrossFit Games Festival of Fitness, end of every year, where you're trying to you're culminating at this place, right? And the reality of it is the thing that it is a fitness festival that people get to come watch and be entertained at. And you know, there's an extra layer of participatory, you know, I don't know, participation throughout the year, maybe, whatever, but they came up to the place, HQ did, where they're like, hey, our festival's not making any money. Why are we're a business. Businesses make money. We can't keep taking this loss. What are we doing? And at that point, I think they realized, well, we can't stop doing this festival. It's actually like really important to other parts of what we're doing. And it's, which might not even be in the realm of business though. Like it might be on like a more metaphysical level of like the games is kind of transcendent past this, just the category of make money, not make money, fitness festival type of thing. And I think that's what they've realized the last 5 years of experimentation, which is makes sense because this thing's not that old. All of these other companies and all these other things have gone through like very interesting times of growing and refining and trying new things and then not trying new things. You know, it's like this stupid NFL canceling touchdown celebrations for a season. You know, fining players for celebrating after scoring touchdowns. It's like this, like who the F decided that? And then like that person was immediately fired the next year for sure. So it was absurd. That's so stupid.
You got really elaborate celebrations after that.
Yeah, well,
choreographed.
Yeah, and now right, and now it's like
it's like it's a thing.
And it's also fun, and like you're also not mad when the person doesn't have a good touchdown dance, like nobody cares. But what's interesting is like, hey, that's like you just fined that guy $50K for, but that's all of that sort of just popped into mind about. Like, yeah, I mean, there's some growing pains going on right now, and you gotta try, you gotta test, retest. But that's what's happening, you know. This fitness festival idea is a test, retest thing. It just might be more than the business aspect of it.
What might be more?
The games.
The games.
Well,
And
yeah.
That's my question: is how much was Greg thinking about? You used the term metaphysical, but how much was he thinking about bigger picture ideas more so than business when he was doing the CrossFit Games? Because I think the CrossFit Games always, and I'm going to say this, I know this was what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be the proving grounds. That's what the first 2008, 2009, 2007, it was the proving grounds for their methodology.
yes.
That's what it was. And then it like slowly over time got to a point where Greg was joking it, saying it was just all about thruster races. And it kind of became that, because look at what Dave did one year just because he wanted to put 100 barbells out on the floor.
Right.
He wanted to do this. Then the event was dumb. It was
It's a stupid event.
it was 9 thrusters or whatever and 35 dubs, 10 rounds. I'm like, stupid, right? And then the next day you had high volume squatting too. It's just, there's been moments like that, and then it's like after that, you kind of saw that it was more about the show and the performance and putting on this play, if you will. And there's an element of that, but that element, like you said, has to happen naturally. You know, like it happens naturally. Like
Right.
It becomes this event like that people want to come and they're like brought into, not by the programming and not by the setup of it, but by the competition itself and by the idea that we're testing to be the fittest, and the idea that you want to see who comes out to be the fittest with the simplest test that you can. Like one of the things that they always said was, it shouldn't be the test that should be fancy, it should be the competition of the athletes that should draw people's attention. So the test can be the simplest test possible. You want it to be the simplest test possible.
Well, that's true because basketball, every other sport works this way.
Mm-hmm. You don't want to overcomplicate it.
And I think that's funny that you say that, because I think, and I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but in one of the many things I was listening to this week, between Bosman himself talking about the programmed workouts and Pat Sherwood, was that simplest test, that was essentially what he was, I think, trying to pare down with the shuttle run and that burpee pull-up. Okay, what can we strip down bare and just have some people go? And how can we do that in the open? And how can we incorporate running, which we've never been able to do in the open?
Right.
And people, that's one of the tests that people really want to hate on, because they've shown that you can go out and walk the shuttle portion and just move through another portion and put
people
up
hate on it because the movements themselves had a specific amount of time that almost every person could do the reps in the same amount of time. There wasn't any separation.
But not everybody knows that or noticed that or is smart enough or trained long enough or been coached well enough, fill in the blank, for that. And then Hiller's like, hey, walk, I bet you do better. And it's like, holy smokes, I did better? How is that possible? And it's like, hey,
so
you had
10 minutes of burpee pull-ups.
Right. You had a good coach show up on YouTube for you at this point. And it's like, that's true. Like, how do you hate on that? It's not. It's like, but you know what this has made me think of? The sort of whole gambit of it is that I think it's the first year Rich won. There was this like diabolical chipper, and he did singles on a barbell, I think, in it.
Yeah,
and
touch and go.
And
and then he watched me and then didn't do touch and go.
Yeah, exactly. No, and this is the thing.
We talked about this.
It really, I like have it cataloged in my brain of like he exposed something about this broader test.
Pacing, efficiency.
Yeah, that mattered so much that hadn't been introduced at that point.
People still don't talk about it. That's what I've been making my career off of.
And and that's the point where it's like, you go back to I have a lot of examples, but the point is, I'm doing the workout, and like midway through the workout, Ben's like, hey, you're doing really good right now. And I was like, I know this is my type of workout because I'm a methodical pacer. Methodical, right?
I think I actually would say, like, pride myself on being a pretty good pacer for my own.
It just matters so much. It's like, and that's where I'm like, oh man, why do I get mad when like, I get beat in, like a rowing workout or something like that. The thing that I get mad at is like, I don't have the fortitude or the grit or whatever to row hard enough. That just is like, I'm never gonna row at this pace when I'm working out, so I'm just gonna stay at my 150. Why would I do that? And then it's like, well, you actually row at a 2-minute pace. You think you row at a 150, but
there's also something to knowing that it doesn't matter if I push this row a little harder. If it taps me for what's coming next, I didn't do myself any service by just rowing harder because I can at this moment.
That's part of the fun of it. You got to play to your strengths a little bit.
Right. I rode the pace that I know I can row.
Right.
Get off this and then be able to go and immediately start doing my toe to bar.
Yeah.
It's a game. You're gaming it a little bit. You have to. It's like you're playing a game. To maximize that would be maximizing your fitness.
Right.
Right.
And by playing that game and maximizing your fitness over the course of the whole test, you're going to have somebody stand on the podium at the end of the CrossFit Games and be the champ. Like that's the story. Like that's it right there. Maybe we fall. Do you think we fall into the temptation of wanting to just immediately comment on things because there's an attention economy, and the attention economy demands that?
I don't want to be sitting here. I guess I like talking to you guys. I don't want to be having to set up this podcast and talk to people about it, but like somebody's got to talk about this.
Yeah.
Because what Hiller made that video, the last video, like where he's like, don't sign up for the Open.
Yeah.
Next year. He's not going to sign up for the Open next year.
Right.
I'd love to talk to him about that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I don't know if you should not be giving your money to this thing, but like
I listened to it with Julianne, and she was like, "Do you think he's like ragging on you, or do you think?" And I was like, "Nah, I think it's just the other side of the coin."
Yeah, right.
Like I think we're saying the same thing. Like I think we're a part of the same thing, which is a coin, which is if we are heads, that video was tails. And a lot of times we're both heads, and sometimes we have drastically different opinions on whatever it is. But what do you think about that? The coin analogy.
Well,
in regards to that video, did you all receive it that way?
there were parts that I got, and then there were parts where I thought he just went too far in one direction of criticism on the Open and on the tests.
Which you have to do. It's what I did in the very beginning when I said, hey, look at this test. Do you think it's good?
Yeah.
Because I went to the furthest extremes
Right.
and then figured out where the truth is.
Right.
Right. So I think it's important to go both directions. Like you have to go all the way one way and all the way the other way to figure out where you should be. Otherwise, you're just not.
I think what's hard, or what's hard right now is everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a critique on it. No matter how long they've been doing CrossFit, their first, their second Open, their 10th Open, or longer.
Some people have credible opinions, though. And
Right.
Some people don't.
Well, that's just some people. I don't want to say
Experience.
credible. I want to say uninformed. If you're newer to CrossFit, and depending on the gym you go to, and
That's
what you're given about what is CrossFit, what is the methodology, how do we understand our fitness here? So when you go back and we reference these old level 1 stuff, and we're talking about these 10 general physical skills. People in the class, if I said, what are the 10 general physical skills? What do you mean? What are you talking about? Most people that just come here to work out aren't going to know that.
Yeah.
So how are they interpreting these tests as good or bad if they don't know the foundation that likely I think Boz is referencing? And I believe he's keeping this in mind. I really do. I think
I do too.
he's.
No, I do.
I do.
And you
That's
have
why
to go back to that. You can't forget about that
Right.
when you go forward.
This has been my favorite Open, because I did the best I've ever done.
I didn't do the best I'd ever done, but I didn't do the worst by any means.
Yeah,
either.
but I'm like, keep them coming. You know what I'm saying?
Hiller, I knew Hiller was watching.
Oh,
Hiller said there's 8 people watching one of them. So Hiller said it's ragging on you, and then he commented again and said not ragging. He's flipping the coin, heads or tails.
Interesting.
I don't know what he said.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like maybe it's a both and. Like you get that.
You gotta talk about it.
Right. You definitely gotta talk about it.
Because it's important. What are you giving your $20 to?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
No, I don't either.
But I mean, I know what I'm doing here.
Right.
There's a point where it's like I can't. There's also a point beyond which you can't you just can't care and it be effective to your everyday life. Like I don't know. I'm gonna sign up for the Open because I know that it's probably a good test for all the athletes in the gym. Like I'm not setting up an Open. I'm not setting up a leaderboard every day, like a leaderboard that people can test themselves against hundreds of thousands of people online.
Right. That's
kind of what you're paying for.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it like that, like a business, you're paying for the ability to sign up, put yourself on the leaderboard, rank yourself against all the other CrossFitters in the world. Whether it's a good test, quote unquote, or not, or whether it's nobody cares about the judging and all the reps are no reps. I'm like, okay, it's been like that since the beginning. Everybody cared about it before, but the people got knocked down when they went to the regionals and they were tested in person. It's definitely a problem. Like these are all problems. Like,
for sure.
They need to be working towards fixing the problems. Like they need to be working towards having a staff that judges videos, and that's all they do.
Which supposedly they're doing, but I don't know how.
Me too. Like those. I mean, all of these critiques are like, I'm so on board, bro. I'll champion it all day.
Yeah, I just don't know.
Yeah.
I think shout out to Julianne, your wife today. She said something great. When I was talking briefly, getting my coffee, that it's much easier to critique than it is to create.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're all so easy to jump on the test that was put out there, and it's like, well, can you create something better? Or how do you address the masses with
I'd be happy to.
Right.
Yeah, I know you
Right,
would.
and I think that some of the people in the space right now are kind of in the space where they're like, hey, like tap me if you don't want people to keep, crapping on you, like just
They're offering up help and solutions.
we would like to help, right? That's and that's so helpful. There's a part of this too that's difficult. I own a coffee company. Everybody always asks me how it's doing. I'm like, it's all right, like it could be great. We could be selling more coffee, like that's true. Like if you owned a company and somebody asked you how I was doing, you would probably say something like that too. I make concrete. I wish I sold more concrete. Like that's great. But it's always followed with, have you thought about doing this? And I'm like,
I do. JB, make me this syrup. I need this
why don't can you? I'm doing a lot. Like, do you think like that I'm just like have this like gigantic list of ideas that like I'm not trying to accomplish or do or better off the coffee company or whatever it is? Like, no, I'm trying to grow and get better and sell more cups of coffee and provide more wholesaling, and all those things. And it's like, all right, well you should do this. I'm like,
Thank you. Thanks for the.
what if I don't? Now, how do I feel about myself if I don't do that now? Should I feel crappy that I didn't take your advice and implement your decision and run my company the way you want me to run my company and provide you with this, and this? I'm really sorry. I failed you. Oh man. I think I'm shutting the coffee company down now. It's like, no, you would never do that. I mean, I legitimately sat at dinner one time and people like spent like an hour and a half. Like, hey, have you tried this? Yeah, I have. And I actually just entertained everything. I was like, let me tell you why that doesn't work. Let me tell you why that doesn't work. Let me tell you how I tried that and it didn't work. Let me tell you, oh, yep, did that one too, it didn't work. The whole night. And we like left and Julianne's in this conversation. She's like, man, like, it felt like everybody's really getting on us, And I was like, no, they're trying to help. What they don't realize is this is the opposite of help.
Mm-hmm. So is that in line with all of the voices out here right now? Are we not helping CrossFit? Right. We're doing the opposite of helping just by constantly critiquing and not.
So I don't know. I think what we're doing is more of a callback to the past, callback to what has worked in the past.
Yeah.
It's not like we're telling them how to change to we're not telling them where to go.
Right.
We're just trying to say, hey guys, like, that left turn back there, you probably should have turned back there.
Right.
Like you did that before and it worked out really well.
Yeah.
And then
hey, we're missing this.
There's a little extension.
We feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going.
That's all.
There's like no, it's like you're not just providing the like, hey, you should do this. It's hey, we've recognized A, B, and C. We can help. Like I can help. Call me. I'll help. Right. Like I even think there's part of the mission Hiller's on. It's like hire me. Like bring me. You're struggling. Like I can do. I can keep doing this on my own. I can keep being this. I can keep being Batman vigilante out here and doing these things. And there's part of this that's for CrossFit, and then there's part of it that's YouTube content, and then there's part of it that's personal, and then there's part of it that's business, and then there's part of it that it's.
And if I looked at any one of those, I could make fun of any one of those things.
But like all of these videos are that way. There's a but there's a very real call too, where it's like, hey, hire me. I'd love to put a team together. I'd love to get a lot of this straight. I'd love for the judging to be under control. I'd love for this high standard to be held up again to the level in which this, whatever it is, the percentage of bad reps falls drastically when you hire me or whatever it is. That would be cool.
You're saying it held up again. That's the thing. I think our memories are short, right?
The standard was never held up.
Right, exactly. Or this test was bad. The last one was better. No, it wasn't last year. Everybody complained about X. And
Last
2
year,
years ago, it was like
so much more, and the test was way worse.
A huge argument this year I heard, as far as affiliates went, was logistically, the setups were awful. I was like, what about in 18 when we had to do, or 7, I forget which year it was, overhead barbell lunges? We were in that small space over there. We ran heats of 4 or 5.
20-minute AMRAP too.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Lunges?
Yes.
It was?
Overhead
I thought it was the...
We had
there was
1,900 square feet.
Ones.
Yeah.
We had to run 100-some people through this workout.
That's
4 or
really
5
good
people
point.
at a time because we could only fit so many people holding a barbell overhead, and they're complaining about shuttle runs like in 25 feet spaces. We had handstand walk with 25 feet spaces a few years back.
Right.
This is not new. That's why I feel as though people are newer to the space and finding a problem with it because they weren't around long enough to remember or to have experienced what it was in 18, 17, and other years. They may have hit 2 years where they tried to make it kinder and friendlier because of COVID and gyms being officially shut down, and so everybody or a good portion of people had to be doing it in their garage. So now we're going to take out a lot of stuff, and some people came into it going, oh yeah, that's really easy to do. Well, that's not what it always was.
It seems like the points that get really harped on are the ones that the most people most people agree on, and then it's just like, it's like the idea of Twitter, like a good tweet that grabs your attention and like everybody can complain about, like all the attention goes to that viral, and then it goes viral.
Right.
And it's kind of like that with these critiques. Like everybody's throwing out critiques, they just throw them all, and then whichever ones stick, people go with,
right?
You know, and they run with. But it's like those critiques have always been there. If you've been here since the beginning, they've always been there. And,
and I can go back to regionals where a bad judging call ruined someone's chance to go to the games. Literally. The judging errors aren't new. I've been to so many games watching yourself and Alec and seeing bad judging calls from attempts at new movements of handstand push-ups on the rings. Having to throw
look, they got to be there. Like those things got to be there. Like those new movements and the new things got to be there for the test. But they also have to be thought about, which is what I think Hiller's always saying. You have to think about them from the perspective of the athlete, from the perspective of the coach, from the perspective of the spectator, from the perspective like the judge. Like it all has to kind of come together, because as an athlete, I'm thinking, what can I get away with, because I'm trying to be as efficient as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna bury my squat all the way to the ground. Like I'm gonna break parallel. And that's it. Something like that. I mean, I don't consciously think about that, right? But you do it naturally. Like it's naturally going to happen. The judge should be there to make sure the standard's upheld. But that's it. You know, they shouldn't be looking for, you know, oh, my elbow's here instead of here, and I hurt my elbow, and it's, you know, it's like, okay, there's workarounds. Like you just tell the judge something. I don't know what I'm trying to say with that, but
there's a fine line.
There are movement mechanics where some people just move a certain way,
right? And
it's like it's hard. It's hard to. You don't want to make people over exaggerate a movement either, as a judge.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like if I stand up, I'm up. I don't need to like drive my hips through or
I
push
hate
my
a
head
deadlift.
through.
That deadlift.
Like the standard should be as
example
simple as
drives me
possible.
Crazy.
What's that?
The like humping your deadlift.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
It's it's like, bro, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Stop that.
Anthony Lewis said, what about judging? Hiller said it auto-corrected, so he says he wants there to be a reason for everyone to sign up. I agree.
Yeah, that's what I took from the video. I got to the end of it, I was like, no, he's not. That's not saying how you interpreted that.
No, he just yes.
But I'm really, that's awesome, because that's how I received it.
Yeah.
And that's why it made sense to me. But the humping your deadlifts.
Yeah, we can talk about those. Yeah. Someone said, what about the judging calls from the open announcements? I think we talked about these.
Yeah, we did a little bit. The standard for the thruster was just bad.
But this is what I'm talking about. You need to think in advance.
Yep.
Hey, what's your standard going to be?
Yeah.
In 2011, the standard was you cannot move your feet.
Right.
Once you squat.
Yeah.
Right? You start squatting, you can't move your feet. If you move your feet at all, it's no rep.
Right.
That is very simple. It's cut and dry. It's
obvious.
Make sure it's obvious when it's a problem. Like it's the simplest solution. So let's go with the most simple solution.
Because now you left this whole gray area of there's just a whole bunch of
sense at all. You can step on a thruster.
No, and let me reverse engineer it.
It's called a split trick.
Imagine freestanding handstand hold. Not having a discrepancy on whether or not your hands can move or not.
Yeah.
Hey, kick up into a handstand, hold it as long as you can.
And that's why they do something
Can
like,
I
here's a
move
box.
my hands
Yeah.
or not? And it says you have to think through that. That's like a simple thing to think through, that you didn't think to say you can or cannot move your feet. You should be mad at that and then go, yeah, that's an easy thing to fix though. Like that's not like burn it down.
No.
Right.
It's like, oh man, like, and maybe it's just some.
It's like all of these videos could be very condensed down to a 5-second clip on YouTube where it'd be like, hey, this was wrong. Here's your solution. It's the simplest one.
Right.
Done. That's it.
Right.
What is a thruster?
Right.
You don't rebend your knees.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right.
There's no like, what is a thruster? They even said in the video, everybody, you know what a thruster is? I'm like, no, I don't know what a thruster is.
Not by
anymore.
your standard anymore. Yeah.
I am lost now.
Right.
You guys are the one defining it and changing the words.
Yeah.
Changes the definitions. But someone said, how long we been on? What did I miss? We've been on for a little while. You can rewind it. Play back on double speed.
I listen to most of it.
I listen to YouTube on double speed.
The other part that I wanted to ask you about is for you personally, like the collective test this year. How did it treat you and your preparation up to this point?
What about it? More specifically.
Did you feel ready for it?
Yeah, I was happy with this. I was actually happy with this year. I feel like I'm definitely getting fitter over the years, and this is another interesting. I'm getting fitter in the sense of one of the which skill is it? The cardiovascular respiratory endurance domain. I'm getting fitter, so therefore I'm able to push myself and change my pace better in workouts. Because I've been doing it for so long, and I think that having that base of doing the movements for so long really does help. So like, I'm not hitting that lactic threshold at that wall right away. Like I'm able to pace myself and change and play games inside the workouts.
Yeah.
And I'm able to improve my score because of that. I would say that would be me being fitter.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not say max out as strong as I could be possibly. I'm definitely not as durable.
That's not one of the 10 physical skills.
But it's also,
though.
yeah, it's not one of the 10 physical skills.
Maybe durability should be.
Games. Yeah, durability is not one of them. Yeah, stamina, flexibility, strength, power, balance, agility, actually coordination. I don't know. Coordination might be going down because I'm getting older. Agility definitely not there as much. Balance is good. Power's higher for sure. Strength, meh, it's there when I need it. Like I have it to pull from, but like it's all based off of how my body feels. Like it's not. My mind wants to go so hard, my body can't. Like it's just not keeping up right now, and I don't know. It's getting better now, but it's up and it's down. I have a lot of waves of it, and that's normal. But I thought the first test was great. Had a lot of fun doing that one, retesting it. I wanted to retest it again. I feel like it made me want to do it again, but I just did it once. Second one I did twice.
Because you had a really bad judge.
Yeah, I had this crazy judge.
Just kooky lady.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, we miscounted on one or two of them. I had a better thruster on the first one than the second time through, but like I pushed myself.
But that's also because you did 282 on the second time instead of 277.
For what?
The thruster. You went heavy.
Yeah, I tried for heavier weight and missed it. So I went for it, but it wasn't there. So, thruster's not my favorite movement. The transfer to that press, like for some reason for me, it's like never been a strength. I work on it all the time, and it's just not something for the push press. For some reason, I can develop my press. My press has gotten a lot better, but the push press is difficult for me. So it seems to be like a positional thing. The burpee one I was happy because I pushed that one way harder.
Yeah.
And the second time around, and like it hurt 5 times worse. Like, and it was all the burpee speed. All I did was change my burpee speed. I think I walked a couple of the runs too. Like I think I just finished my burpees and like walked down halfway back and then picked it up and started jogging again. And then the last one I thought was a really fun test. It was really hard. I wanted another shot at that one. I was sick like for 4 days before that. Didn't do it. Then did it on Monday.
You still did really well on the third test compared to, some people
walked through it.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to know what Roman Krinikov's take on the workout was, like how it feels like he did, because I think you beat him. And he's at the top of his game, you know, like That's a really fun.
That's where my strength is now, I think, in the skills. You know,
Yeah, place to find yourself
and being
too.
able to have the capacity with the skills, like all of that together, I think takes a long time to cultivate. Just like strength, right? Like just like strength takes a long time to develop. The cardiovascular side of it doesn't take as long to develop, but you can develop it quickly and you can peak, right?
Yeah.
Same with strength too, but strength just takes a long time. But then the skills in CrossFit is what's always got me, right? Like that's always been the thing that you can use to separate yourself from other people in competitions. And the problem's always been not many people are that good at them. So when you separate yourself from other people, there aren't a lot of people in between you and the other person. So there just aren't as many people that are as good at certain things.
Which is my argument again with the leaderboard.
Yeah.
Because maybe I get through, although I got through the first round of the strict handstand push-up and double unders on this workout, and look at people that didn't, I'm like, wow, there's really not that many places here for me to like make ground versus 3 pounds on a lift. And I think, I don't know, maybe it's just my view or how CrossFit developed competitively early on, that strength and the excitement of watching people lift took a front row seat, and it kind of went through the roof that way with the lifting and the focus
Still
on
the best,
the focus on the Olympic
best event
lifting.
of all time
Still fun to watch.
is that event.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Best
2013 clean and jerk ladder.
2013 clean and jerk ladder.
Or I like the speed clean ladders too and
Yeah,
stuff
the
like
speed
that.
ladders are fun.
Top 5. That's the best one. You don't at me. There's nothing better than that
But
event.
so should that be the way it goes though? Should we cater to what's fun to watch and minimize other areas just because they're not as exciting to watch people do 30 muscle ups?
And that's the hardest part about throwing a fitness festival. Like, to call it anything other than that is disingenuous. It's not the proving grounds anymore. It has too much at stake for it to just be the proving grounds. If
you
it
don't think
was
it's proving ground anymore?
it's a show. I think Glassman's right.
Oh no. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. But it's still the proving grounds. Just if you wanted it to just be like the proving grounds, no show, you would have flown everybody to California and then flew them to the ranch and then said, here's your tent. We're gonna do 10 tests, like see you in the morning the next 3 days, no cameras, something like that. Like just as like out there as you get, and it doesn't matter if people like watching this or don't like watching this, or it's easy to set up or it's not easy to set up, whatever it is, it's just gonna be the test. And that's the test. But
there's definitely an element of that.
But now there's a little the nature of the thing doesn't allow for that anymore. Except I think if it shows up at some point, people will be like, oh, this is awesome. Like, this is so rugged, oh man, I'm so excited about this.
But they do have they try to have little snippets of like that. Like when they went to Pendleton, like that's a little tiny.
I know
They would never do that again.
No.
That's just not for the athletes today. They wouldn't do it again.
But
people would be breaking their ankles.
What
I can't believe more people didn't.
Yeah,
the terrain was crazy.
When you would go to Dubai to do those competitions, were they on par with the games?
It was very similar, yeah. Yes.
I just thought
They
about
did a
that,
really
like,
good job.
really hard.
They took
like,
us out of the desert.
didn't you? Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, that's
Run out,
gangster.
run back. We didn't know
Go
idea.
run into the desert and run back. That is like,
It's cool.
that's sweet. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But also, you can't lose money on this thing. It's just it's the undeniable reality of putting on this whole thing is that you have something that exists in the metaphysical space being taken and put down into reality, and the thing that's so hard about that is money is the energy that moves it, but it's not. But nobody's willing to say that it's not and do it as if it's not.
That's the thing that we've talked about this way back in one of the couple first episodes of the podcast, how you run a business, right? How to run a successful business kind of thing. Similar.
Yeah.
You know, you think it's one thing, but if you run it for the right reasons, I think the other things fall in place. Right?
Yeah.
Right? And those things that are for the other reasons are higher than your reasons for money. Right? Because they're higher, everything else falls in place.
Right. And I'm not, you know, like.
And that's what we seem to be missing now, is some sort of like authenticity in the world, like genuineness, authenticity with social media, with CrossFit even. Like what are we doing? We're calling back to like the years ago where it was more genuine, more authentic, more proving grounds-ish, and not this show. Yeah. And we just don't want it to become this caricature of what it was.
Right.
Like we don't want it to be this hyper reality. Yeah. Right. Like we want it to be reality. Right. Like the social media is hyper reality. It's not reality. Right. So like we don't want CrossFit to be hyper reality. Right. Like these athletes, we don't want them to be. We want them to be down to earth people also, that care about something deeper than just their performance.
Let me ask you, do you think professional ping pong players think they're undervalued in the world in a monetary sense? Like, do you think they're like how many professional ping pong players?
I bet you can make it a thing on Twitter.
Right, do you think are like, man, there needs to be more money in this sport so that we can pay more of these athletes to be the best ping pong players? You know, like, and that's the thing. It's like
watch that golf documentary, Full Swing, or whatever. It's so interesting to me.
What?
That idea, how much money's in that sport.
Golf in general, and how much money it takes to just be an amateur casual golfer. Yeah. The amount of
caddy.
I always wanted to be a caddy.
Yeah, but like
you can carry Ben's. You were a CrossFit caddy one year.
Yeah, that's my claim to fame. Is that documentary? I'm like, bro, none of these coaches do anything, but we're all caddies, dog. We carry these bags around, dog. Like, go ask him, and then they went and asked O'Keefe, and he was like, yeah, man, I carry bags. I was like, all right. Like, but there are a lot of helpful coaches.
So here's my question for the next level, for the next round. What's the argument for or against? Should everybody that makes quarterfinals do quarterfinals? Is there an argument for that? Should you care about going to the next level?
I would love, on a participatory sense, I think if you signed up for the Open and you made it, I think you should then do the next round.
Okay.
Maybe like on principle, I think.
I'd say the same thing, but not stand behind it super strong.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's what I
thought about it.
Well,
I don't
like
necessarily
for
have an
you,
opinion. You should probably. Why not?
That's
kind of like, hey, RJ is the workout of the day yesterday. Should I go to the gym?
Yeah.
I got something else I gotta do. You know, like,
yeah.
I got a little busy.
Tennis was a little light yesterday.
Yeah. Like, should I go do that workout? It's gonna be really hard.
Yeah.
I don't like running. Put a lot of push-ups.
So for yourself,
sure.
Because the goal
if you're that person that wants to test yourself, not everybody wants to do it.
Is team, obviously. Are you gonna even do individuals?
Yes, I really don't know. I said yes like a week ago, like definitive yes, and then now I'm like, I don't even know if I'm gonna do it. We'll see.
Well, because it's also it touches into that same durability factor, you know. Now you gotta go.
That's the game I'm playing right now.
Five workouts in
game
2.5 days, and then a week later you gotta turn around and do another set.
Jeepers.
You know?
There's a right answer.
It might be the same events.
It could be very similar.
Which I very much dislike repeating events.
Last year, I think first year they were super similar across like almost everything, and I think Sam did individual and he did team, and it was like repeat, and then it came around to age group, and they were like derivatives of the individuals, and it was like just last year there was more differences, which I liked. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't do them 2 years. The 2 years the first 2 years they came out, even though I could have, This year is a different story. I just kind of want to have a few more tests. Actually, I just want to do some more skills, do some different workouts with stuff that we don't get to do.
I don't really like the Open that much.
Yeah,
I like the quarterfinals much better.
I'm really excited for him.
For me, it's just the strength test. It's the strength event. I know how big of a factor that plays in, and I don't know if I'm ready for it or not. Strength-wise, personally.
On an individual mindset.
Mm-hmm. You know, like you can hide in a team a little bit.
Yeah. Haven't thought a ton about it. But I liked looking at the Krypton leaderboard. It'll make me sad if I don't get to look at the same. If we don't have the next part to go to play into it. I'm looking forward to the next part playing into it. That would be fun. It would be fun to think about climbing the Krypton leaderboard with more data points.
Have we worked on our pistols?
No. No.
Oh, Pat's like, no, not that.
I'm not talking about those types of skills.
It's still that's the one that's like I know it's coming, and I know I'm gonna get smashed. Smashed.
I like Boz's focus on the skills though.
I do too, a lot. I think.
I said I can't predict him, and then live stream we predicted.
We did. We were really close.
We were very close.
Very close.
But he went more to the side of skill on the last event, which surprised me, and then it showed me that maybe he. And that was my thought about Boz, because I watched all the old CrossFit HQ videos from way back in the day, even when Boz, like one of the first things I saw Boz doing was they called it like something Diane. It was some version of Diane where he did 21:15.9 and he did a handstand walk instead of
the handstand push-ups.
Handstand push-ups, and like back then I was like, whoa! And it was like good handstand walks, you know, like feet together, hollow body, stayed in good position, and that was like. He seemed to be like the guy that liked the skills too. He was always doing pistols and things like that. So you know they're coming.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see what quarterfinals are going to look like for sure.
Handstand push-ups.
Well, that's why I just said earlier when, like, right before you got here, I was like, I don't think I'm excited to see how the handstand walk makes its way into this round, because I think it's going to be hard. Like,
it'll be with the deadlift.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like harder than just like a linear handstand walk. Like it might have something else.
Heavy clean, maybe.
I don't know. Yeah.
I hope they test strength in a ladder format or a work capacity format rather than a 1 rep max format. I think save the 1 rep maxes for the competition floor.
100%.
Like test them.
Totally agree. Or a ladder. Like you're gonna go real heavy in that way. There's competition floor.
That's where you want to
for it. Yeah. I mean, you'd be ready for it. I don't necessarily. Well, when was this workout? It was Annie. It was like regional Annie or something like that. Do you remember this workout? Or I can't remember if it was quarterfinals or regionals or whatever it was.
Wasn't Annie.
But it was GHDs, dubs, 275 power cleans. Do you remember this workout?
Yeah. Yes, you're right.
When was that? Was that
like
2-3 years ago?
COVID year?
Is it COVID year?
The COVID year?
Oh, it might have been.
Oh, the virtual round of the games?
Oh, that might have been.
It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 power cleans.
At 275.
GHDs and dubs. Yeah.
50 GHDs.
And it was a
100 dubs.
Drag rope.
Drag rope.
Dude.
Rogue rope, something like that.
I love that workout. Like, love it. Right? But, like, to the point is, like, why do I like that workout? I've been prepared for it by the hour of class that I do every day. Like, I don't know. There's, like, and I'm not excited to race people in class doing any anymore. Like, that's not a fun race anymore. No. You know, like in the beginning, it was a really fun race. I used to do that workout 2 or 3 times a week. Well, I just want a 6-pack, but like, you know, you're just double unders and exactly. I get it. I get it. I was telling everyone the other day. I told you yesterday. I looked at the class workout. The like placement of the class workout was up, like the leaderboard type thing. I was like, that's so bad for me personally. I can't enter my score into that. It's too much for my spirit to handle. So I don't. It's like I care too much about that, and therefore, like on the because I'm an addict. So like I would be addicted to this. I would be a slave to that thing.
Call it training and don't call it competing.
Yeah, something like that. There's like a little subtle that you can add into that.
Perspective though, but all right.
I mean, I think that's good. What is our general consensus? I think we're okay with the test.
What test? Yeah, I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I don't.
Moving on. It's better than last year.
True.
Like I said, improvement.
I thought it was a great test. I think there are people. I think there are examples of it being gained, and that part of the the nuanced answers, the conversation is tough to deal with, because if you have like Charlie won the workout and then got 40,000th in the next spot. Charlie's not weak. He's a great CrossFitter. Does great. He focused on the first part, not the second part, type of thing. What do you do with that? Like.
So the reverse happened for the person that won the thruster and was.
Exactly. Who cares?
Wall Street wheeling.
Yeah.
Right. Is that what he's scared? Take your money and run.
Yeah.
Like. There's that part of this. Like and if you're not okay with that, like. Maybe you just don't. Maybe you're unable to carry the whole perspective. To weigh the whole thing.
Yeah, you gotta carry the whole perspective all the time. It's a good place to end.
All right.
All right, see you
That
guys.
might have been our
This was
longest
like an hour
podcast.
ago.
I was about to say, did you have to go somewhere?
Yeah, bro.